Good morning, it's Barb with Inspire Me 360 and having a beautiful and blessed morning this morning. I just watched a really insightful Jim Carrey video where he talks about the essence of letting go and his studies of Eckhart Tolle and the subsequent awakenings that he's had several times in his career. And I really love this video. I found that his explanation of the expansive nature of the soul and how we can exist within this ego mindset, and yet at these very distinct periods in our lives, we can go through this sort of dissolution of the ego where we understand, in that experience that truly everything is connected and we are everything, that the totality of all existence is really, truly what that I am essence is, that we are this drop within an ocean. And again, this is, a beautiful experience, and one that even Jim Carrey talks about, essentially chasing that feeling of interconnectedness and, what a high it is. And I can definitely relate to that because, again, every time I've went through, one of these awakening experiences, I had the very same, very visceral experience of really losing touch with the persona that I created, the element of, this is Barbara and she, expresses this way. And, I lost very much that egoic mind. And I felt in those periods, this absolutely pervasive, unconditional love, just an unconditional love beyond words. But I also knew that I was part of that love, and that love was sending me energy and generating energy from what I was, and that it wasn't that I was specifically special to this energy. That was a really big realization for me, that energy was everything and loved everything equally. And in those weeks and months where I experienced that, I also saw a complete breakdown of the normal labels or the normal judgments that we would normally have towards others. You just would see any other in this beautiful, incredible light. I remember having conversations with, homeless people, and just them being the most dynamic conversations, and just seeing their light and seeing their wisdom, and again, removing all of that judgment that the 3D kind of logical mind or society tends to kind of layer onto our experience. Those, expectations that we don't do this or we don't go there, we don't talk to those individuals, really robs us of this rich, deep, immersive experience that is life. And again, it's something that until you've experienced it, you won't really understand what I'm talking about in terms of an awakening. But if you have experienced it, it is incredibly profound, and you'll find that it really changes the trajectory of your journey, and it really changes the motivation of how you see each and every task and how you view the world. It gives you a sort of purposefulness, but it's like a gentle purposefulness because there's no ego in it. You don't need anything from the doing. You're just simply doing as, part of a wave in an ocean, or that drop in an ocean philosophy. Mind, or the labeling that I kind of layered upon myself, was that, again, a new version of what I am would be an outcropping of that, and it would be a complete new version. It's almost unrecognizable in terms of what I would call, the old me. And I really enjoy this experience of shedding a skin and coming into this new chapter and really experiencing life in almost a rebirth, because you don't frame things at all in the same way as you did previous to an awakening experience. It's like you download so much information, and it always comes by the way of unconditional love and that illumination experience, or that illuminated energy. And the cool thing is, though, you still remember the old, outdated versions of yourself. So you always have a kind of a frame of reference of, okay, I remember when I thought this way, or I remember when I framed the world this way. Wow, that was a very dense, perceptive plateau that I was on. My perception was very dense, and I can still kind of transport myself back to those now moments where, again, I was very much in a different mindset, and I saw the world through different eyes. And because we can return to those sort of set points, that is really what breeds compassion and understanding, is that we see the outdated versions of reality. And we know that we walked through that understanding. We came from a perceptual lens, or our piece of our consciousness did view the world in that way and operated in that way. And now we are so much no longer in that mindset, but many individuals, still reside in that denser, lower vibrational thinking. And so we can understand them because, again, we likely lived that very experience for many years until we had this sort of awakening download where we were illuminated and we did see things from this higher perspective. And we can call this the higher self. So there are always multiple layers of this higher self perspective. And, it's an eternal journey. It is a never-ending journey. So what I've learned with the multiple experiences of awakenings that I've had in this lifetime is that just when I think I've figured it out and I have the key and, all of the answers are right there in front of me, I realize, okay, you know what? There's another door is opening, and it's a whole new way of viewing life and creation and the entire experience, that it's such a beautiful remembrance or expansion that you just kind of start to get excited about what's coming next, because each and every time the expansion seems to be more beautiful, more all-encompassing, more complete. It's more of a return home to this oneness and to this light body that you start to emanate from. It's really difficult to put into words if you haven't experienced it, but I would likely expect that if you're watching this channel at all, it is something that you've had a little bit of experience with, because that's what really causes you to be interested in these spiritual topics, is that, again, you've probably had some sort of personal experience with spirituality and are now questioning, everything about your existence, because it's a very profound experience. It will rock your world. It will change everything that you think and feel and how you operate, and usually for a good, in a good way, for a very purposeful next chapter. And remember that, again, there are ebbs and flows to this. So there are times when you will feel these really high highs, and then you'll also have these very kind of low lows, because you will miss at times that expansive nature of the awakening. And it's kind of like chasing a certain type of high. But then when we realize that this is part of the lesson and part of the teaching, is that we have to understand that through our own reaching, through our own suffering and questioning, and sometimes almost a depressed state or a lonely state, we ask deeper questions. We force ourselves to break out of our shell, and this is how that new version is born. It's like putting a seed into the dirt. The dirt, is sort of dense and compactful and, really kind of that container for that seed to grow. And it is the same thing with our souls, is that we go into the depths of that darkness and the descent and the questioning and, all of that sort of depression and anxiety. And that is the pressure that causes us to essentially germinate and sprout and start to rise up. And each and every time we go through one of these cycles, and I know a lot of spiritual teachers will teach that the ascension process is like this spiral. So, it's not a perfect ascent. It kind of comes in a cyclical way, and that's exactly how I've experienced it. It's very cyclical. It is that wave pattern where, you go up, you rise, and then you come down a little bit, and then you rise a little bit more, and then you come down, and, in that kind of spiraling upward momentum. And that can give you a lot of peace on your journey in knowing that, when you are in those valleys, that is part of the process, and you start to relax into it. You start to let go of the attachment to, the pervasive emotion, whatever that deep emotion is. You start to kind of ride the waves of your emotions rather than being tethered by them or weighed down by them. You just simply move into the observer perspective, and you utilize each emotion, each mood, each next experiential, out manifestation as part of your lessons, as part of your learning. And you start to hold an immense amount of gratitude for all of it, for the totality of it. Because again, you wouldn't learn without the contrast. This beautiful contrast is what provides us the framework for our deep and profound soul journey. This is how we learn. This is specifically how we learn on Earth. So it is a beautiful adventure. It is a very exciting ride. It has so much complexity to it. And as we soften ourselves into the journey, we realize actually that it's filled with so much of a dynamic kaleidoscope of experiences that you just start to love the entire process. The highs, the lows, the journey, the cinematic out expression of all of it. And that becomes, your daily mantra is just to observe, to grow through all of it. I'm going to cut this video a little bit short. I don't want it to be a super long one, but again, if you can take anything from this, it's the understanding that you are everything and everything is you. And there is a total peace and comfort in that when you start to really ingrain this lesson into each and every day. It just provides you unlimited peace, unlimited compassion for everything and all that is. All right, guys, have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next video.